Hi, my name is Kelly Amon, and this is my Data Action Model presentation. We begin this course with Data Meeting 1. In Data Meeting 1, we were provided an Excel sheet of information from our course instructor. We were able to take this data and use the Notice and Wonder protocol and ask exploratory questions. What went well this week is that the protocols worked for everyone. Our group consisted of 2 classroom teachers and a prospective teacher. Even though the prospective teacher is not in a classroom or currently teaching, she was able to fully participate in the Notice and Wonder protocol. Because the data was new to all of us, we were all able to say what we noticed, wondered, and ask questions. From our Notice and Wonders, we were able to create exploratory questions and come up with a question that would further make us analyze data, which led to Data Meeting 2. In Data Meeting 2, we collected more artifacts that would help us explore these exploratory questions and dig deeper into student learning. What worked well is actually the exploratory questions we came up with. Our exploratory questions were, are the assignments accurately matching the content taught and reviewed? Do students have materials to review at home? And can the teacher use technology to better include parents with student work or homework, or even just to support learning? What didn't work so well is we kind of saw that the artifact tracking sheet was hard since it wasn't our original data. We luckily asked an exploratory question about if the assessments were accurately measuring learning, so we could use our own data and our own artifacts to kind of expand assessments and see what other assessments could accurately judge their learning. We then had our Data Meeting 3. In Data Meeting 3, we looked at the learning gaps, instructional gaps, and the connection between the two. We set a target learning goal, and we determined an evaluation metric for those goals. So this was a larger document because we were all looking at our artifact tracking sheet and deciding what gaps would be in place for all of the different artifacts that we were using. What went well this week is that the collaboration through Google Docs helped us share information and decide which learning gaps and instructional gaps to focus on. Setting the goals worked really well for me and Laura, since this is something we do all the time, but we saw that the prospective teacher in our group started having some trouble this week, but we were able to work together to help her create her own goals too. The tables provided also helped us stay organized and prioritize the gaps. What didn't work so well this week was, again, we saw that our prospective teacher had a little bit of trouble this week. It was easy for her to participate in Notice and Wonders and kind of look at someone else's data, but when it came to her creating her own goals and creating some implementation tips, we saw that she had a bit of a struggle, but we were able to help her and work as a group to solve that problem. We then went to Data Meeting 4. In Data Meeting 4, we kind of looked at our goals and we began to put in our next steps for the goal. We looked at how we would have to reach each goal. So it's kind of small, but as you can see, like each goal was up top and we came up with 2 different ways to implement each goal. We had 3 SMART goals for each of us and we worked on how we would reach each of our goals. What worked well this week is it was a clear continuation of Data Meeting 3 and the data process that most of us teachers use often. How can we get them to our goals, and what should we be implementing? What should we be doing? The planning protocol rubric helped us to make sure that our goals and that our strategies were meaningful, and the action planning tracking sheet was really helpful to keep us organized and just to help communicate between all of us. What didn't go so well this week is, again, since it was a clear extension of the prior data meeting, the same group member had the same trouble. But again, we worked as a group, we gave feedback, and we tried to help clear up any confusion that she had. We then had our Data Meeting 5, our last data meeting, where we just looked at what we were implementing and we looked at final data to see if what we were implementing was successful. What went well is because the data that was given to us this week was so similar to the data in Meeting 1, it was easy to see which and how much students were improving. We were also able to relate our planned actions to the data provided to us. So we were able to make that connection to the grades and what we would have implemented if we had had time. What didn't work so well is at first we were confused how we had collected all this data. We brought in our personal artifacts. We planned for what would work for the kids in our classroom, and our personal learning and instructional gaps would connect to this provided data. But then we quickly went back and we went to data meeting 3 and we looked at how we would evaluate our evaluation metric to pick out those 2 evaluation pieces and connect those to the 2 data points that we had. And that's how we could see if it was really connected and if our students would have improved. And lastly, my own reflection for this course was that the tracking sheets, protocols, and just the general process of Venable's data action model were really helpful to effectively analyze data. There were a lot of steps, so staying organized is a large key to success in this process. Overall, I think having hardworking and collaborative group members can help transform student learning and help guide teacher instruction. So I definitely want to use a lot of these aspects in my own teaching to help me realize learning gaps, instructional gaps, and help me plan what I can do to help better teach my students.